Hi, everyone, and welcome back for the second season of Decentralized Voices. I'm really excited about today's guest, Gracie Lin, CEO of OKX Singapore. Gracie has had a fascinating journey from fintech and mobility to the fast moving crypto world. In this episode, we'll dive into her leadership story, OKX's presence in Asia, some cool things their brand is doing with McLaren Formula One, and what we can expect from OKX at Token2049. Enjoy this episode and share it with your friends. Gracie, I'm excited to have you today. Please give a short overview of your professional background.
Hi, Daria. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me. My background, it's been quite a long history across different industries, so I'm not sure how short it can be. Background-wise, I started my career in the Central Bank of Singapore, Monetary Authority of Singapore. I spent 10 years there. And then I spent a few more years in the traditional financial industry before moving on to the tech industry, where I was at Grab for 6 years. And now I lead OKX Singapore, where we are building a digital assets platform for anyone in Singapore that wants to access digital assets in a safe, secure, and responsible way. So that, in a nutshell, is the past 21 years of my career.
It sounds impressive, and you have so diverse and interesting experience. Can you please share what inspired your transition from the world of mobility and fintech to crypto?
Yeah, I get this question quite a lot. And I think it's because if you just look at it on the surface, Grab and OKX seem like very different companies. But actually, for me, they are a lot more similar than they are different. Both companies, if you think about it, like what drives them, they're both trying to improve how the financial system and how the economy serve people, which is why Grab was very meaningful to me. I got to work on improving livelihoods, especially for those people who have been excluded from traditional systems. So leaving that was very difficult. What inspired me, I guess when the opportunity at OKX came up, it opened up new questions, it opened up new possibilities, and it opened up new areas of potential. And one thing that struck me when I first started talking to OKX, this was actually, I think it was still kind of within the crypto winter, which is coming out of the crypto winter. And what was inspiring for me was that throughout that crypto winter, it wasn't that everything just went away. The builders just continued building. And one thing that became quite clear to me then was that the industry had matured post FTX. And even through the winter, it was maturing. And that was happening not just globally, but also right here in Singapore. The regulatory environment was evolving, the industry players were maturing, the ecosystem was expanding and consolidating and just becoming more and more serious about doing things right. And that's what I like about crypto and where the industry is right now. First, you have the potential to reshape financial infrastructure that's real, and it's always been real. But then to really get there and to really sustain it, it has to be built responsibly. So the potential was there and the direction was right. And that was a very good opportunity for me. And then I had to think about, OKX as an opportunity as well, right? So why I do it in OKX. And I think it's quite clear that OKX is one of the leaders in this space. We've been around for more than a decade. And in a large part of that history, it's been very clear to everyone in the company that we have to be very disciplined about how we're going to grow. And so pursuing licenses in jurisdictions with high standards became a very important part of the strategy, including here in Singapore. And of course, then it brings me to, so I've answered why in the industry, I've answered why OKX. And then the question is why OKX Singapore? And I believe it's because the commitment that OKX has to Singapore is real. I could see it, I feel it. And now that I'm here, I live it. We have more than 900 employees in Singapore now, and we just started a few years ago. And more than 2/3 of that 900 employees are in product and engineering. So we mean building in the most literal way, right? These people are building real infrastructure, they're building real products every day. And so that was what inspired me and convinced me to make that shift. I honestly feel like I couldn't have found or chosen a better place where I can shape this space with values that are important to me. So I feel very lucky to have been at all these great companies in my career, including OKX.
Wow, that sounds really good and inspiring. So, having managed teams in mobility, digital payments, now in OKX, what the biggest differences you noticed stepping into crypto with OKX?
I mean, similar to what I said earlier, I think people often assume that crypto must be completely different from tech, from fintech. But that hasn't really been how I've seen it or how I've experienced it. And maybe it's something that's unique too because versus Grab and OKX, right? And at both companies, like I mentioned, we are building systems that are meant to shape and define the future of how people interact with the economy, with financial systems. And both industries are also moving incredibly fast. Things are evolving, regulatory expectations are, becoming clearer, user expectations are shifting, the competitors keep changing, and the landscape is also evolving. So you are constantly having to adapt to this fast-moving environment. How I spend my days is also not that different. Every day I work with different stakeholders. Today, I could be working with a regulator, talking to a regulator. I will also be then talking to product teams, to engineers, to business partners, to clients, and just make sure that across all of these different stakeholders, we're aligned. Even though we are naturally speaking different languages, I don't mean that literally, but different languages, we have different perspectives, with different objectives. And over time, I've learned that connecting all of these threads, the ability to work and communicate with different stakeholders, to adapt to that fast-changing everything, user expectations, regulations, competitive landscape, faith is very important. When people rally around a shared mission, and both companies have a strong sense of that, right? Both Grab and OKX. When people rally around that mission, faith can connect them. The challenge, though, is that faith can also be fragile. If they rally around the mission, but then things start shifting and things start evolving, then that faith and conviction can get tested. My light has kind of gone off. So then what really matters when you are centering your connection and your alignment on that faith is that you also need to then have trust. Do the people you're working with, your stakeholders, your team, do they trust that you do the right thing? Do they trust that you'll continue to do the right thing even when things change? And that kind of trust, I believe, comes from having a very clear structure, a very clear message, and being consistent in what you do, not just having a very clear vision. So from a leadership standpoint, I think what's important is building systems, building a system that can scale, building a team that can adapt, and also building the trust that can hold people together even as things change and things become uncertain.
Yeah, thank you. For the past 2 months, we have seen a series of all-time highs in crypto, and Ethereum was and Bitcoin the same. So like many things have happened. So what's your broader perspective on current market situation in crypto and maybe narratives around this?
Yeah. I think every time we have all-time highs, and we've had a lot of those in crypto, things get very exciting. And people talk a lot about that. But then that's really just the headline. That's really just at the surface. And I think what's really more important is what is underlying all of that. And I talked about maturity that I'd observed when I first started talking to OKX. That maturity that's been building for years, I think that's still there. So if you look at that, what we are seeing is we see very serious growth in stablecoin. Stablecoin market cap is now over, I think, 286 billion. It's moving close towards 300 billion. That's a large number. And these are reliable liquidity rails that connect traditional finance with digital assets. So that's below what's happening with all these all-time highs, right? And a lot of these large flows are now riding on Ethereum rails. And these are signals of long-term industry maturity. So what I believe and what I observe in Singapore is that sentiment is shaped less and less by price cycles and more by long-term value.
By product.
And because, yes, by product, by people being convinced that this value that they see is going to be there in the long term, is sustainable, by people believing that compliance, consumer protection, systems, trusted systems are becoming clearer and firmer, standing on firmer ground. I think that's where the industry has needed to move in and has started moving in. And I think that is becoming very clear to a lot of people. And that is what's exciting. It's much more important to me than the all-time highs that we're seeing.
Token2049 is coming back to Singapore. It's always the huge moment for the industry, obviously. And what can we expect from OKX at the event this year? What do you plan?
We're really looking forward to it. It's that 1 week that everyone in crypto marks in their diary. And this year it's going to be bigger than ever. We are the title sponsor, so we will be leading some key
Really?
conversations. Our founder, Star, will be sharing his outlook for the space. We'll also be sharing some new product directions. And this year's focus for product is going to be real-world use cases. We're looking beyond trading and investment. We're looking at how blockchain can power everyday experiences. We think that's the future. We think that is the way that's actually going to bring real use to people that we serve and trust as well. And it's going to be what drives adoption. Other than Token, I'm not sure if you know, but in Singapore, Token always comes before Singapore Grand Prix, which is why it's
I know, yeah.
huge week. Yeah, it's a huge week in Singapore. So we have some very exciting activations that are tied to our partnership with McLaren. And so that mix of motorsport, energy, and Web3 all in 1 week is going to bring a very unique type of energy that only Singapore can offer, and we're very excited.
I've seen a lot of photos from previous editions of Token and Formula One Grand Prix in one place, and yeah, it was insane in good way. So people were so excited and so energized by this. And I wanted to ask you more about your partnership with McLaren team. So how has it helped OKX to highlight your values or maybe attract more users to the platform? So
Like you said, it's just a lot of excitement, right? That everything coming together, motorsports, crypto coming together. The two communities are both very passionate. The motorsport F1 community is extremely passionate. The crypto community is extremely passionate. And being able to bring everyone together through that partnership with McLaren has been what's been really meaningful for us. And I think we all believe that it's really helped us to connect with a wider audience. It goes beyond, I mean, when you see the race, you see the car, you see our logo, but it goes way beyond that, right? We've been working with McLaren to create things like the McLaren Center presented by OKX. So that really brings together digital creativity with history and heritage, and then bringing it on track to see what happens when those two things come together. When we have events, including in Singapore, at races, we have fan zones, we have interactive activations, we have digital collectible airdrops, and we even have these racing simulators with McLaren drivers. So being able to bring these experiences to our communities, both in the F1 space and in the crypto space, across all of our different markets, in partnership with McLaren, and allowing people to engage in a very human, hands-on way, that really makes everything feel so much more real. That people can see, can touch, and can participate in that technology, not just in the F1 technology, but also in the digital asset technology. That's been amazing for us, and it's been a great success, this partnership that we've had with McLaren in terms of helping us to connect with our audience.
it looks very engaging, and this collaboration between OKX and McLaren, it's the most successful among other crypto brands supporting Formula One teams, because you do a lot of creatives around this and it looks more visible compared to others who just like put their logo and do some maybe NFT collectibles or something, and that's it. In your case, it goes beyond and it's more visible.
Actually, we do our best to go one step further, right? So it's not even about just the visibility, not just about, like you mentioned, and it's not just about the excitement and the fun that we can bring to the crypto community and to the F1 motorsport community. But this year, at least in Singapore, we are trying to go one step further to bring that access to a different group of people who historically have not gotten access to all these experiences. And so in Singapore, we are looking to work with McLaren to bring a special experience to youth in Singapore. So underprivileged youth, to help them see that they can discover new possibilities, whether it's in motorsports, technology, or financial empowerment. You will get more, you will see more, and we will share more when F1 rolls around, but we're very excited about this. And for me, it's personally very meaningful because I was born and raised here, and being able to give back to the local community is something that I really care about, especially the underprivileged segments of society, which may not have the type of access that some of us have been quite fortunate to have. So I'm very grateful that our partnership with McLaren will give us that opportunity this year to create these opportunities and space for some segments of our community to dream bigger, regardless of where they start.
How do you measure the success of such kind of partnership? Can we talk more about reach and brand awareness, or it works more on new users and product metrics? Can you give more details on this?
I think we measure success in more intangible ways. A lot of it has got to do with the brand association. McLaren is a brand that we have a lot of respect for. And their story over the past few years, how they have overcome some challenges and where they are today, right? Well on track to be winning the Constructors' Championship for the second time in a row. Last year was really exciting. It came down to the wire in the last race. So that mindset that they have of working every single day just to improve what they do and to think very carefully about what they do, how they focus on team. The team is most important. The team supports one another. These values are very important to us. They're focused on technology, on enhancing that technology, on leveraging that technology to drive that success. So for us, that brand is and the brand values that McLaren stands behind are very, very in line with what OKX believes in and what drives what we do every single day. So from a brand association perspective, we think they're a great partner. And even the fact that they're willing to do these local engagements that I just talked about, for example, right? Where we together will go to underprivileged youth in Singapore and give them that access, give them the time, and try and inspire them and give them that space to dream big. The fact that they're willing to do that with us and are excited about it, again, just points to just how aligned our values are. So I mean, I don't, and I think I can't speak for other markets, but I don't think about our brand partnership with McLaren in terms of how many users it helps us to acquire, in terms of how many people know about us through McLaren. I think about it in a more intangible but more meaningful way, and I think more long-term and sustainable way, that our partnership really just kind of brings to everybody's minds how our values are aligned. And it just emphasizes how it makes those values much clearer when we interact with our community.
Yeah, thank you for great explanation. And I want to ask you about how OKX works both with pro users and newbies. Like crypto exchanges have this normal interface and pro interface. How do you work with different categories of users, and how do you give them value?
I think across new users and power users, there are certain things that are fundamental in the user experience. For example, every user, regardless of whether they're new or experienced, they want onboarding to be seamless. So seamless onboarding was a big focus for us when we first launched our platform in Singapore. And we do have certain systems locally that enable us to do this more easily. So we've integrated with tools like SingPass, with PayNow, with Fast, so that people using the OKX Singapore platform can assess that in a way that feels familiar to them, because this is how they interact with other platforms as well. So that's the basic level, the foundational part of the experience that we believe is important to both power users as well as new users. And then for the more advanced users, we have other things that could make them appreciate how easy it is to use our platform. So we have flexible trading modes, we have tailored portfolios, and then we have strong custody solutions for some of our institutional investors that are looking for institutional grade solutions. I would say that across both types of users, what they are really looking for would be security, transparency, and something that they're familiar with locally. And so that makes it a lot easier for us, whether we're building for new users or power users. So everything that we do, we design with the Singapore user in mind. How does a Singapore user like to experience an app? How do they like to interact with a financial platform? So our mission locally is building in Singapore for Singapore, and we take that quite literally. We build here in Singapore, like I mentioned, 2/3 of our big team here in Singapore are builders. We're building right here in Singapore, and we are building for the Singapore user, always with the Singapore first mindset and always for the long term.
When you build and you are the user and you are part of this target audience, and you can test everything and meet these people every day in coffee shops, in metro, everywhere.
You are exactly right. User feedback is extremely important, and we're very lucky. I mean, we are a small country, so there aren't that many differences across user groups, and it's very easy to go out there and talk to your user and find out from them, this is great, this is not so great, this is what I'm looking for, this is working, that's not working, and then we can adapt that. And again, because we are such a big pool of engineers and product managers in Singapore, when there's an improvement and enhancement that we want to work on and we want to incorporate, the person is right there with us in the same office in Marina Bay Financial Center. We can walk up to this person and say, we need to make this enhancement or we need to make this fix. Can you help me? So having that user in close proximity with the builder, that makes it so much easier to be able to adapt and build for the local user. So we're very, very lucky to be doing this in Singapore.
How do you define the next wave of the digital asset revolution? Are there major shifts or innovations you believe will shape the industry in the next few years?
Yeah, I believe the next wave is already here. And we are seeing an increased focus on real-world utility and institutional adoption. You see real traction in areas like stablecoin, asset tokenization, and secure custody. And with that, we're also seeing rising expectations around security, auditability, and transparency. And I believe it really takes everyone working together across government, regulators, and industry to meet these expectations. So I'm grateful to be a part of the group trying to make this happen. And I'm very excited to see where we go from here.
For people who want to grow their leadership roles in crypto, especially those who came from Web 2, what advice would you give these people? What kind of mindset they need to be leaders in crypto?
I think it's important to be able to adapt and pivot quickly. We mentioned just now how quickly things move in Web 2 as well, at least in some parts in recent years. But in crypto, everything is new and evolving. The products are evolving, the rules are evolving, user expectations are evolving. So you need to be comfortable saying, this used to work, but it's not working anymore. Let's try something else, and to be able to move fast. But at the same time, you do need to know what is important to maintain. Things like user safety, compliance, trust. You need to make sure that regardless of how the situation changes or expectations shift, those things are not negotiable. In terms of mindset, you would have to be grounded, but you do have to be flexible as well and adaptable. So you have to try things, observe, see what the impact is, and then adjust. In terms of mindset, these are I think that the key things we look out for, and I believe are going to be defining whether somebody succeeds in this space or not.
Did you learn something from your team during the working process?
Of course. Sometimes if you have been in many different companies or across different industries where maybe things are a little bit more stable and more established and more mature, you can sometimes have the mindset that something is the way it is. And this is the way to do something. But young people don't come with that kind of baggage. And I don't mean baggage in a negative way, right? It's just a mindset that, oh, this is how things are done. Young people don't have that, which is why I think it's actually really important to have a good mix of people in the same team. You have those that come from a certain kind of background and other people that come from a completely different background. You have those that come with some preconceived notions. You have some that come with fresh perspectives, and then you bring everything together. And I believe that's actually what's driving a lot of the evolution and progress in this industry right now. In recent years, in recent months, we've been seeing a lot more people coming in from other industries, from traditional finance, from traditional tech. I can't believe I'm saying traditional tech, but traditional tech. And we're seeing people coming in from all of these different areas at different levels and different stages of their career. And I think it's because of the meeting of minds and the meeting of different perspectives that we are really getting to see the power that comes out when people with a shared mission, shared vision come together and try to drive things in an aligned way. That's when we get the best of all worlds. We're learning a lot from the younger people in our team and people from all kinds of different backgrounds.
Thank you very much. It was a great conversation. I really liked it, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers will also like it. Gracie, thanks again for sharing your experience and for inspiring us. And I hope that listeners and viewers will go to Singapore and enjoy the event this amazing week and see definitely the OKX presence there. So guys, I'll leave Gracie's links under this episode to LinkedIn, to X, so you can go follow her and see what's happening in Singapore and OKX. Thanks again and see you in the next episodes. Bye.